Hey guys, and welcome to our second installment of MK Speaks. I'm Marianne Kyle. I'm your host tonight. If you follow me, you know I'm a vocal coach. I do vocal workshops as well. And tonight we are discussing something very near and dear to my heart. We are discussing fitness and nutrition and how it impacts our mental health. And we, of course, as creatives and teachers and singers, know that post the pandemic, our mental health has been in a state of decline, so to speak. And we've all begun to address the fact that we've been sitting in our homes for a year, trying our best to keep up our mental and physical health as well. But I wanted to introduce you. Actually, I'm going to let my coach introduce you tonight. I'm so pleased to welcome to this discussion my coach, Coach Brian. Go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi, I'm James Brian McMillan, also known as Health Coach Brian on most social media channels. I also have a online wellness company named Should It Be Clean. I've been running it for about 5 years. We started it before COVID. I got on the bandwagon way before everyone else went virtual. I saw a need in the community for people for accountability for the 23 hours they're away from the gym. At the time, I owned a CrossFit facility for about 12 years, and I wanted to make a change. So made a big jump. So here we are.
That's great. Well, you guys, if you've been following my journey, you know that for at least the last 10, 11 months that I have been on both a mental health journey as well as a physical fitness and nutrition journey. And the difference is I have been on that journey, I think, all of my life. But now in my 50s, I realized that those three things had to come together for me in order for it to be successful and integrated into my life and not just be a diet. And so I'm really thrilled and pleased to have my coach here today. I'm actually going to tell you a little bit about my journey later on, but what I want Coach to tell us is you started this company. So tell us why it was, other than what were the seminal events in your life that led you to start this particular company?
Well, when any little bit of knowledge comes into your, hemisphere of thought. Initially for me, I had an uncle when I was a child, when I was younger. It was pretty influential in my life, and worked really hard all his life and worked 12-hour shifts, six or 7 days a week, probably. And built this nice empire for his family, and retired and had a heart attack and died the same year. So he never got to enjoy it. So I always thought in the back of my head, there was something we should do for these guys. There's got to be something there, there's got to be some type of idea, some type of plan, some type of program, some type of something that we can do to help these guys extend their life and have a better quality of life. So that's where it kind of started for me. So then I went to the military, went to a special forces branch, and went into become a medic. And during my time as a medic, anytime I came across a new disease or new injury or anything, I always referred back to the physician's desk reference to kind of familiarize myself with it. Even though it's out of my scope of care, I wanted to have the best amount of knowledge possible. So it really got me in tune with disease and disease processes. And that continued my train of thought. So, here I am, here's this thing that's pretty common with most people. We didn't understand why. Science continued on. And then people started talking about metabolic syndrome. And metabolic syndrome is the thing that we need to beat that's going to help these guys.
Tell us about metabolic syndrome. What is that?
So metabolic syndrome is the disease of the metabolism. And it's really diagnosed, really uncommonly diagnosed. A lot of people don't talk about it, even though it's the most prolific killer of human beings in the history of human beings. The numbers are pretty prolific as far as death goes, but I would say about 65% of the adult population today is currently in the middle of metabolic syndrome. And it's a co-occurrence of about 5 different symptoms. So you got to have 3 of the 5 in different, sequences to be considered positive toward having this syndrome. And what happens is you have to have high triglycerides or high lipids, a large central obesity. So like your stomach has to be larger than your hips, hypertension, and there's a few others, a couple others, other symptoms that I'm not really in tune with right now. But what happens is when you become positive for this syndrome, it increases your chances of having Alzheimer's, cancer, stroke, heart disease, and there's one more, by 65%. So what this accounts to is about $1,500 per person that America spends via taxes a year trying to treat this particular syndrome. So it's paramount. We pretty much shut the country down for less than 1 million deaths this over the last 3 or 4 years, and metabolic syndrome kills 10 times that a year.
Wow.
So we're not talking about it enough, and it's a very difficult syndrome to be able to treat because it takes a myriad of techniques of rehabilitation to be able to go after it. And I started my research on that, and I'm not a medical doctor or anything, but what my particular certifications do as a nutritional therapist allows me to be able to educate, which is primarily what most people need to be able to defeat metabolic syndrome. First, they have to know and understand what the problem is, and then implement a plan over a long period of time as if they are in rehabilitation to be able to defeat it.
Yeah.
And so you have to start that process. And once you start the process, it is a very easy, it's not easy, but it's something that you can defeat, and you can change the disease process in that.
Yeah. I mean, when I started with you, I think I was on 8 different medications at 55 years of age, and I was on 2 lipid medications and 1 triglyceride medication. And all of these doctors were trying to figure out where my problems started, because I didn't look like someone who would be suffering from such high level of cholesterol and triglycerides. And some of it was hereditary. I have some Native American background in me, but it really wasn't until I started kind of working through this dietary and fitness process with you and understanding food and its role in all of that, putting all of those things together, that I was able to actually come off of all of those medications. In fact, my doctors were really surprised that within 6 months.
I wonder if they were upset about it. They're losing some of their money. I'm
well,
joking.
You and I
want that. They do want. No, they don't want that.
No, you and I talked before, because one of them was like, I don't like to take my patients off of medication. And but he couldn't deny the numbers, particularly over several different cycles of looking at these numbers. And so it has, for me, and we're going to talk more specifically in a moment, but it has for me made a huge difference in correcting that path in my life. And of course, you and I both know that my mother also has Alzheimer's. And so there are a number of reasons. That was one of the reasons I started on this process with you, was because of that. So there are a number of things that I have seen in my own life change direction by following a lot of these things that may seem counterintuitive. When we get sick, we want to go to the doctor.
Right.
Is there a way to do this where you don't have to depend on medication? So that's kind of one of the things we're talking about today. So tell me, Coach, tell me some of the more self-destructive behaviors that you see in some of the clients that come past you that you've worked with.
I think the most, when it comes to self-destructive behavior, you have to kind of understand what a health coach's job is here to do. We're not a psychologist. We're not here to unwrap your past. What my job as a health coach is to help you unwrap your future. So what I like to do is work hand in hand with doctors and help them move a patient along, or an athlete along, through the progression of what they may teach them. So if they're having a particular problem with self-destructive behavior, and most people's self-destructive behavior is internal dialogue. They talk bad to themselves. And so what that does is it creates a dilemma internally. So we don't know what happens if the chicken came before the egg or the egg came before the chicken, but whatever happens is this bad internal dialogue reinforces bad behavior. So, you can talk bad to yourself, so it allows you to be able to go to the Burger King and grab a Whopper because you feel bad. And then you feel bad again. So then you go buy some more. So it's like a snowball effect at that point. So what we want to do is a slight modification in behavior. And as part of our set points called the Fit Thinker. So we try to help them first become in tune with what they're doing and help them understand with what they're doing. and then a way to fix it. So what we try to do is, if we're going to take a habit away, we're going to give you a positive habit to be able to fix that. So what our positive habit is to take away this bad internal dialogue is to inject practicing gratitude throughout the day. So that changes your internal dialogue toward negativity to positivity. And then bang, magic happens. You start telling your subconscious that things are okay, things are great. And then the internal processes has changed and the stress hormones go away. And then that's what the problem is with metabolic syndrome, is the stress hormones.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Of course, people that follow me know that I really love thinking about how the brain processes physical behaviors, how the mind processes some of that and then puts it in practice on stage. But the process for retraining your brain to not talk smack to you and to retrain your habits around that. It's the same process when we go on stage. Mm-hmm. We're training ourselves not to think critically about our performance, but to think creatively. The same sort of pathways are built in there. And you're right, when you replace that dialogue with something like gratitude. And so instead of my life is terrible, I'm going to get some ice cream because I deserve it because my life is terrible. Once you then say, yeah, but you know what? I have running water and a beautiful family. Once you replace that, it will begin to rewire the way the brain processes stimuli.
It changes everything.
It changes everything.
It really does.
It really does. It absolutely does. It's a miracle kind of how it works. So let's talk for a minute about this whole idea of nutrition and fitness and where it intersects with our mental health once we're in the process of making changes. Because you talked about that sort of the fit thinker, the fit thinker kind of idea. But let's talk about once they start that process, where does mental health intersect with this whole nutrition fitness journey?
So it's pretty much proven that a lot of mental health problems start with deficiency. So, in order to plug the holes of deficiency, you have to actually look at your nutrition. And once you start to get an understanding of, like, most people are calorically saturated, but nutriently malnourished.
Wait, say that again, because that's an important moment.
Most people are calorically saturated. That means they're taking too many calories, but they are nutritionally, vitamins wise, malnourished.
Yeah.
And once that process starts, it creates all kinds of internal issues within the brain and the body. And within the exercise side of it, we have been what we call like stalk hunters our whole lives. Mm-hmm. And, in order for our bodies to perform effectively, we have to move and move constantly. And the nutrients will not get delivered effectively unless we're doing that. So all those things have to be in order for them to work effectively. So, like, what most people do, they start a diet and then they just crash their diet. They don't do any exercise with it. And they're making the deficiency worse because they're not taking enough protein, which is most people's problems. And then because, protein and fat's been villainized over the last 15 years, which is absolutely terrible. So, what we want to do is create a balanced approach within that. So you want to get a balanced approach of carbs, fat, and protein, and match it with adequate levels of exercise. And when you do that, the brain lights up and things start to take over effectively the way they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
I really truly believe that our bodies has the ability to be able to evaluate us whether or not we're good members of the tribe or not. If we're the top member of the tribe that's sitting in the teepee all day, eating up all the tribe's food, our genetics is going to take us out. And this is the process called epigenetics. Our genetics can flow as we get older. If you were to look at genetics of twins when they're born, they're genetic copies of each other. As they come in contact with external stimuli, and you actually look at their genetics again, whenever they're in their 50s, they're different people. So if you're the type person that's out there hunter-gathering, providing for the tribe, you're helping the humanity survive. So then you're going to be able to survive longer yourself. So I really feel like that's the key. Most people have to understand they have to stay active. They have to, our ancestors were were exceptionally fit superheroes.
And I love the way we're going to talk in a little bit about the 10K lifestyle and all of that, but I love the fact that you talk about how much our ancestors used to walk per day just to be able to go out and hunt and stay alive. And that was built into our genetic makeup, and how we've gotten away from that. And particularly since the pandemic, we've gotten so attuned to being inside and sitting and staring at social media and other things like that, that that's become our new habit. So to speak.
And it's hard. It's hard once you allow that process to start in your body. It's hard to get going again. I've been there. And it's super hard to get started again. You have to find some type of external motivation. And that's what we're here for as coaches, to help people stay in tune and be accountable to themselves and get back going. Sometimes you need a kick in the butt.
Absolutely. And one thing I'll tell you guys are following, sometimes it takes something major in your life, like a family illness or a death, to move you towards doing something better for yourself. The most important thing about this is it starts with you doing something for yourself. You cannot be better for others around you, your family, your teachers, your students, anyone in your atmosphere, unless you do it for yourself first. It's an inside out job. It really is. And I think that's hard, particularly for people like me who want to do so much for other people at the expense of myself. I know we see that a lot in my business. And so,
yeah, a really famous guy I like to follow has a thought about that. He says, you got to learn to clean your own room before you set about to save the world. And I really feel like that's true. As an individual, you're not going to be able to save the world.
No,
but as an individual, you can clean your own room and keep your hemisphere as great as possible. And then if everyone is doing it, we can transcend here on earth. That's the key, is transcendence, and if we're not all working together, then we're never going to make it together.
And you know this because you and I are both, doing our business and thing on social media, but a lot of times all we have to do is live our lives and sort of be honest with people. And we don't realize how far our sphere of influence reaches out just because we're taking care of ourselves and preaching our truth. And so sometimes I get messages from people that I haven't heard from in years or don't know at all. And so I'm always amazed at our sphere of influence when it starts from within us for those genuine reasons.
I've seen that a lot. It's the same thing as like a frequency, or what you call a ripple. Like you drop a little bit of water a drop of water into some water, and that ripple goes out. It's the same thing. Once you create energy in your life, the ripple goes out, and it may hit some people. It may hit some people and really, affect them, really incredibly, and they may want to jump in and help you or join you. So, that's, as long as it's, toward positivity, it's a great thing, because we see enough of the negative people following that kind of stuff. So,
so
stay away from that.
So speaking of which, and you and I've talked a lot about this in my time working with you, which is my idea of my outer image versus how I feel. And so with social media, we have become so fixated on appearance, and particularly in my business, appearance is key. I mean, I sing opera, I sing musical theater and commercial music, but I think 30 years ago, you could be pretty robust in size and still work as an opera singer. But now, because we have television and everyone's focused in on the singer, suddenly it's how we look over how we sound. And so physical appearance has become this guiding philosophy for a lot of us. And so what I want to know is, when you're talking to people who are fixated with outer appearance, but they really need to make a physical change for their own health, how do you guide them through that process as a coach?
It's really simple. You have them focus on work. Work is the way. Work is the way. What is in the way, that whenever you start within that whole process of work, you're no longer really concentrating on what's internal. You're just focusing on what you need to work on. So it takes your mind off that, and you're focusing on a goal. We all need purpose, and looks is a side benefit, and it may come along with it. And typically, if you're doing your work right, it will. But if you just keep it simple, focus on your work, then things will get there. A lot of times people are trying to, and this is, I think, part of the fault with social media. They don't understand the work that it took for Elon Musk to get where he is. They don't understand the work that it took Gary Vee to get where he is, or Oprah, or any of those people that had to, trog through the terribleness of what they've had to go through to get to the heights that they are now. And it starts with one win. You have to start small. And once you start to establish those small wins, then it starts to accumulate and build. And then you get confidence, and then you slay more dragons. And that's it. That's what it takes.
And I love when you'll say, we'll get in our heads and we're talking smack to ourselves and to you, and you're like, just do the work. Just do the work.
Just do the work. This doesn't matter. Don't talk about it. Be about it. just get on it.
Keep it. We don't. What was it you said? Looked at me one day. You're like, keep it simple, stupid. I'm like,
yeah, keep it simple. I'm not gonna say that, but yeah, you could say it.
No, we get wrong.
I'm already mean enough at looking as it is. I'm gonna try to keep it nice here tonight.
All right. So one of the questions. So I've been with you probably 10 or 11, almost 11 months. 10 months, I guess. Now I've been with you as both a fitness coach and a subscriber to Shut Up, Eat Clean. And in that time, you have been really crucial in helping guide me through this whole nutrition and fitness journey. And one of the things that people who know me or don't know me is that I have for years suffered with body dysmorphic disorder, which my mother used to jokingly call fat eyeballs. It wouldn't matter what I saw in the mirror. I always saw something that was not my actual appearance. And what it did was it affected my relationship with eating to the point where I would control my food, thinking I was doing well, and just did not have an accurate image of what I looked like. So you talk a lot about us as athletes. And I remember the first time you called me an athlete, I was like, who in the heck is he talking about? But I know you have a lot of clients who suffer from this sort of skewed vision of how they look versus how they actually are. So tell me how you guide folks through that, or do you just work the process?
Well, I don't really give a damn what you think about yourself. My job is to make you go somewhere, and we're going to be here to manifest some great stuff, and you're going to be an athlete if you're going to train with me one way or the other. And the day that you start with me, you're an athlete in my eyes. So we're manifesting that. So that's the energy I'm putting out. And that's where I'm not going to you're going to have to quit before we don't accept it. So, and this is the way I stick with it. I'm a little bit nicer to that in effect with my clients. They probably don't ever hear me talking like that, but it's just the way I think. We've got to manifest this thing, and put our willpower toward it no matter what. It's non-negotiable. So, you're an athlete, and it's non-negotiable at that point. And that's where we're going with it. And that's the way I take that approach with all my people. Where you're an athlete, you got to start eating. And so that's part of once I start programming people's head on that, it allows them to understand, especially, someone that was going through what you were going through, that it's okay to eat like an athlete.
Yeah.
And I hate to say this, but, a lot of people get stuck on eating like a girl, and, eating like a bird. And, I think that we've adjusted not to tell too many things that's going on with you, but I think that, we've taken you, to heights and caloric intake that you didn't think probably was possible. As I don't want to give your age away, but you're in your mid 50s, correct? Or right? So, and then you're eating more than 2,000 calories a day and working your tail off, and you have plenty of energy to teach and thrive and and have tons of energy just like you have right now. It's freaking 8 o'clock at night and you're bubbling,
teaching all day long too.
I wish I had that energy.
two workouts this morning.
That's right.
You bring up a great topic, because I work with so many teachers right now who are just slam burned out. And a lot of them come to me, they want vocal advice, but they really also want to know how it is that I maintain my creativity, my excitement for the work after being in it 20 plus years. And one of the things I tell them is that I am constantly curious. I hope to stay curious until the day I drop dead. And that includes this process that you and I are working through, is that from the time we started, each new goal, I'm curious about what happens when I engage that, work my way towards that goal. And one of the things we're working on right now is the amount of food I'm taking in And there was a period of time where my brain went, there's no way I can eat all of this food. Yet you said, do this and you'll get to an attainable weight that you want to be, and your muscle mass will support all the rest of it. It's going to support your energy. And by damn it, you were right. It works.
Yeah, you just gotta let it's a process of thriving, you have to give an adequate amount of macronutrients, right? And then really try to help people through their deficiencies through their micronutrients. And once you plug all those holes, then the body will work. There's a reason why we are the apex predator on Earth. We are the apex predator. We're the highest of the high, the feeding chain. And once we get all those things primed, there's no limit to what we can do. So you just have to cure your deficiencies, and that's in behavior too. That's within sleep. That's in with your internal dialogue. That's within your activity. That's when your exercise, because activity and exercise is two different things. And once you get in tune with your nutrition and eating clean, shutting up, and all that kind of stuff, and just focus on those things progress really fast. It's almost like you're on steroids.
It actually is quite amazing how clear my thinking has been when I've worked on all of those things together, and how much clearer I am as a teacher, how much clearer I am as a coach. Just in my daily activities, I'm able to process more and for longer periods of time, even at my age, because I have attacked them all from that area as one goal. Basically, I'm going to work on all these things together. So that brings me to something practical here. And you talk a lot about doing the work. And so the people in my world are running with crazy schedules all day long, performers, teachers, creatives. We have these ridiculous work schedules and performance schedules. So what are some important first steps that you think are attainable for people when they're starting this journey?
First of all, don't make it so rigid. Try to develop a plan that's pliable. And so that's what we've done within our program, is we make almost like a video game out of it. So you get this, this Pavlovian reward on a daily basis for being able to hit your numbers. And whenever you start to hit your numbers, that's what increases your metabolism. And then your body has to make the hormonal changes to be able to maintain these numbers. So first of all, you want to maintain and create good numbers for you to be able to chase. So how do you chase your numbers? You get a good smartwatch, and you hire a good coach, and let the coach make some decisions for you as far as what numbers to chase. Everybody. So it's really hard for me to throw numbers out there because everybody's a little bit different. So I could say eat 1,800 calories and get 10,000 steps a day, and it may work for some people. But I think you and I were having this conversation the other day. Not all carbs are made the same. You can be eating dirty carbs all day and think you're doing well, and you're not. So, it's a matter of making the right kind of decisions with the right kind of knowledge. And I think a lot of people are making the mistake of not taking their health seriously enough, and trying to taking the lowest bidder possible when it comes to these type of programs. And I've tried to stay clear of that. I don't want to be associated with anyone that's not serious about their health. So, someone that's looking for a $30, $40, a month type thing is not, you're not being serious for yourself. You only have one life. Why not go after the biggest, most awesome thing possible? I mean, most people are paying a $500 note for a car that they only sit in for 2% of the day. You're going to be in this body for the rest of your life. And, people flinch when they got to pay, 100, 150, maybe $200 a month to change their life through nutrition and exercise and mindset. So, I think that's pretty much it as far as that goes.
I will tell you, and as a plug for what you do, what you've done for me, and what I've seen you do with countless friends of mine in my circle who are with you, is that investment comes with that daily accountability, that weekly appointment. And I think the most important thing was you spend time with each and every client to figure out what is going on with them physically, what their big goals are, their little goals are. You really take into consideration their age, their metabolism, all of those things. And you basically write a prescription for each of your clients that matches their goals and where they are in their lives. And of course, several people in my atmosphere from like in their 30s all the way into their 60s are with you right now. And I've seen them walk through this process successfully. And I'm always amazed at how well you tailor it and take the time to get to know them and work through their problems with them and work through their sort of whole mental outlook about eating and fitness and how that integrates into their life and into their mental health. And so I agree that I think you have to be willing to invest something in that, because it's not just us we're trying to keep alive, but all of those in our atmosphere that care for us so much, very much want us to take care of ourselves. And
And I think that's a good segue between, when you're trying to make decisions on your health, you want to try to get into the best possible decision. So that when I was making my coaching decisions, and I want to be able to help people, my first idea was I want to be authentic. I don't want to just give a plug and play program for people to follow and quit in 2 days. And to do that effectively, you have to do that linearly. So, through Dr. Walker, she's a PhD and she teaches education at University of Athens. We developed a linear learning program so people can learn as they are doing this work. So yeah, you're doing exercise, but also you're learning as you're progressing. So we give videos on a daily basis on nutrition and mindset, little bits of programming, kind of change the way you think, the way you see things, so that these things take effect. And the way it works is, it really, that studies show that it takes 66 days to change a habit. So that's why our program is 8 weeks. So that's what you have to implement, is that.
Yeah. And it's impressive. Dr. Bridget Walker, who's on your team as part of your company, you have utilized a lot of your resources in your atmosphere to create a program that really works well. I mean, I'm walking living proof of that for sure.
We've done action testing over thousands of people. We did the research, and we've made things pliable and taken away things and added things, and until we got to a product that that we're happy with. The central premise of what we tried to deliver is a story. So we want you to understand it in your terms, so you can take this and put it on top of your head and understand it. And that's the idea. Everybody understands things a little bit differently. So that's why you have a coach and an educator assigned to you to be able to kind of help you, and assist you with that. So, and that's why that authenticity is important. It's someone that's going to be with you and that curious about you. That's not going to be inundated with 100 people. We have a promise of only 10 clients per coach, and we stick with that. So that's where we are.
I love that. That's great. And we understand in the arts world, we understand that sort of whole idea of being authentic. It's something we have to do every time we step on stage, every time we step into the studio, the classroom, because what we do, we're not building space shuttles. We're not, putting computers. We're dealing with not just voices, but hearts and minds in the arts field. And so that connection, that empathetic connection, that authenticity resonates with the people in my world so much. And so to have that transcend what we do and go out in our lives in terms of who we are and who we are mentally, who we are physically, and that factors into all the work that you and I have done together over time. We understand that authenticity and we seek it out. And so that I think makes what you do very special for sure.
Well, we're talking about frequency and that kind of stuff earlier. And once, and we were talking about my initial idea, once you start to think about that you want to change your life, or if you want to lose weight, the universe is going to present you with a lot of different ideas, and so, so I think that's probably the answer that you asked me. If someone's wanting to start with the process, the thing to do is just start educating yourself, and then the universe will give you the rest, and continue to work through it. Don't quit. The only way you can lose at anything is if you quit. So just don't quit, and that's the way to win.
Yeah.
You're going to find some adversity. You're going to find some things. You're going to hit some walls, and you got to understand what is in the way becomes the way.
Yeah.
And adversity is part of life. You got to learn to work through it.
That's correct. And you bring up a great point, because I have a great team of people that have worked with me. I've been blessed. I think it's God sending people into my life at the right time. And, I have a great therapist that I met, and then you and I met just totally by chance. I wanted to do CrossFit, and I drove by your gym every day. I was like, oh, what is this? And I came in, and you were like, I want to talk to you about these other things. And so the minute we started talking about all of that together, I knew that was exactly what I needed. You were in the right place at the right time.
Or the
And
universe put you in the right place. It wasn't me.
well, it was great because it has made a lasting change in my life. And as someone who has chased fitness and chased all of this in my entire life, this is the first time that those three things, my mental health, my fitness, and my nutrition, have come together in such a great way with two great coaches between you and my therapist, Megan. You guys have just been great in my life. And so when it happens, it's amazing. And I'll tell you guys, I do things now that I never thought I would do in my life. And it is not because I set out with that goal in mind to do races and do things like that, but every day I just did something and just kept moving forward and tried to do something that I thought was hard at first. And so here we are. All of these things have come together. So Brian, any parting thoughts you have for those people out there about getting started? We're going to have your resources up and your website up if they want to reach out and contact you.
I think a good story. I've worked with Spartan.com a little bit, and there's a guy that owns Spartan named Joe DeCina, and he's got a book. And in his book, he tells us he was a stockbroker. He tells a story where he decides to walk away from stock trading or whatever he did. And he was going to do the Iditarod on foot, which is, if you don't know what the Iditarod, it's like a trek across Alaska with dogs, but he did it on foot. So you got a bunch of crazy people together, and they did it before he opened up Spartan. And they were walking across what they thought was this mountaintop to another mountaintop, and it was actually a valley. So they stepped off into it and fell to the bottom of the valley through the snow. And they were stuck and wedged. And basically they fell into an avalanche. So they were just enveloped in snow. And their little guide said, we don't think we're going to be able to get through this. This is probably it. They could still hear each other talking. But they survived it. He created Spartan and all this other stuff. And he says in the book, from that point forward, everything was more quiet. And so, and where that equates to with us and in work and things like that, the harder things that you do in your life, the easier and more happy you will be. And so this is what kind of has happened within COVID, right? We all got thrown into this really soft lifestyle. So now that everything has been soft, so that even little things that are even a little bit hard are extremely hard, right? So if you want to change that process, start doing hard things. Wake up every morning and think about what's the hardest thing that you can do today. And then maybe just walking outside for 5 minutes. Great. Turn that into a mile. Great. Turn that into 2 miles. Great. Turn in 3 miles. Great. Run 1 mile. Great. Continue that process. And as you start this process of doing harder things, all these little smaller things, like, getting mad at someone at the red light, will go away. You'll be so much more happy. So that's pretty much it.
That's a great story to end with. I love that. Yeah. So you guys that follow me, I'll be sharing my story in an upcoming video in a couple of weeks about my journey and how I worked through this process and ended up in the Spartan race and what that meant to me. And so anyway, but I want to end on that beautiful story. Brian, your website is shutupeatclean.com. It's a great program. So we're going to post his website and any other information. If you guys want to chime in, when you go to the YouTube channel, just like and subscribe, comment, and we'll put you guys in touch with Coach Brian if you'd like to get in touch with him. But also you can go through his website and he'll set up an appointment with you, talking through this process. And Brian, thank you for being with us tonight. I appreciate everything you've done for me and everything you continue to do for people in my world. So.
Well, I appreciate your hard work. And I told you initially when you first started that people that are hard chargers, people that can handle, large loads, do well within my program. And here we are, you did well. So, it's just a testimony to you, really. It's nothing to do with me. You just got to have the right kind of wind and you can go.
I'm eternally grateful. All right, guys. So we'll see you in the next go around. But I want to thank Brian for joining me tonight, and we'll see you in the next segment.
Bye, y'all.